Welcome to the deep dive. We grab those really insightful sources, cut through all the noise, and basically hand you the crucial knowledge you need.
Get right to the core of it.
Exactly. And today, we're tackling something of a cultural paradox, I think. It's the rise and, the constant celebration of solitude. Being single is championed everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's the new ideal, almost.
But what does that solitude really do?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, your relational growth. Does it help? Hinder?
It's a great question. It forces a kind of self-audit, doesn't it? We all see those posts online, loving my freedom, so happy alone.
Yeah.
But the sources we're looking at today, specifically these really insightful spiritual awareness guides from the writer Kato, well, he pushes us to look way beyond that surface level.
Oh, right. He's pretty well known for his work on consciousness personal development. And he doesn't really hold back, does he?
Not at all. He basically starts by asking, is this freedom or is it actually an escape, a defense?
And he kicks off this whole analysis with a bit of a provocation, right? Designed to sort of pop that romantic bubble around being single forever.
He does. He immediately challenges how sustainable that joy really is. He asks you, the listener, to really look inward. Can you genuinely enjoy being alone? And, maybe more importantly, for how long?
Before the quiet gets too quiet.
Exactly. Before that space starts to feel less like freedom and more like, emptiness.
He paints this picture, it's almost funny, but quite pointed, of someone kind of theatrically celebrating being alone.
Right. Like imagine getting home, throwing your arms wide and yelling, yes, so happy I'm alone tonight. And guess what? Still alone tomorrow morning. Fantastic.
Haha, yeah, a bit much maybe.
And he pushes it further into those times that are usually about connection. Christmas is coming, New Year's, Valentine's Day. Guess what? Still happy, still single, forever. No burdens, no family, no kids.
When you put it like that, the repetition, it starts to sound a bit like someone trying to convince themselves, maybe?
That's the implication. Is it true contentment? Or is it a kind of mantra to keep the less comfortable feelings at bay?
Okay, so this is the core distinction for our deep dive today, then. Is this celebrated solitude a real pursuit of freedom? Self-discovery, self-nourishment? Or is it just a really well-camouflaged defense mechanism?
Precisely. And the goal here isn't judgment. It's not about saying single is bad or good. It's about diagnosis, understanding the motivation, because that determines the outcome. Does it lead to growth or stagnation?
Okay, let's dive into Cato's diagnosis then.
Yeah.
Why do people publicly, celebrate pulling back from relationships? He sees this dual motivation happening. What's the main driver?
The first one, the most obvious, is simply liberty, freedom.
Right.
The freedom to structure your life, your time, your money without needing to constantly consult someone else. And that's real. That's a tangible plus for many people.
Sure. Makes sense. But then there's the second factor, which feels deeper, maybe more complicated. Past disappointment.
Yes. This is crucial. He argues many retreats because they feel they didn't get what they fundamentally needed in past relationships.
Like what specifically?
Basic things, really. Attention, genuine acceptance for who they are, emotional validation, feeling supported, affection, love.
So past relationships felt like a deficit, like something was missing.
Exactly, a deficit of core needs. And so going it alone becomes a protective move. It's about stopping that potential pain from happening again, self-preservation.
So if the past was about lack, the future becomes about self-protection.
Okay. But Kato argues this kind of protective stance often blinds people to a really core, maybe even essential lesson of being coupled. And this is where we should probably pause, because I think society often sees this particular lesson as kind of old-fashioned now.
You're talking about compromise.
Yeah, the big C word.
It is the hard lesson, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're right. In modern talk, it often gets framed negatively, like you're losing yourself. But Kato insists coupling inherently involves compromise. It's the non-negotiable price of admission, so to speak. Okay, but why? Why is it non-negotiable? He says it's not just about making the other person happy.
Right. This is key. He talks about compromise being necessary for the, what does he call it? The superior integrating system of the couple itself.
Whoa, okay. Superior integrating system. Slow down on that one. What does that mean? Because we're told constantly today that self-sacrifice is bad, even toxic.
Okay, think of it this way. A healthy relationship isn't just two separate people standing near each other. It creates a kind of third entity. It's the us, the shared space, the system formed by their connection.
Right.
Now, if both people only ever prioritize their own individual wants 100% of the time with zero compromise, what happens to that shared space? That
Starves. It doesn't get fed.
Exactly, it can't survive. The goal isn't necessarily a perfect 50-50 split on every single thing. It's about mutual flexibility, adapting, so that the combined unit, the U.S., becomes stronger and more resilient than either person could be alone. Ah, okay. So refusing to compromise essentially means only one person's needs or will can ever truly be met in any given situation. The system breaks down.
The system inherently fails, yes, because it requires that give and take, that constant recalibration, as you said earlier.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay. And this focus on the ability or inability to compromise leads us straight into a pretty controversial hypothesis Kato puts forward.
Yes, this one definitely stirred the pot.
It's about who might struggle most with this essential compromise, and he points towards only children. He does. He suggests, based on his observations and framework, that growing up as an only child might present a specific kind of handicap in adult relationships.
The handicap. How so?
The idea is that they perhaps didn't get that constant built-in practice in, family conflict resolution, sharing space, sharing attention, sharing stuff, learning to communicate effectively when wants clash, right there in the nursery or the living room.
But hang on, isn't that a huge generalization? I mean, lots of only children are incredibly collaborative and empathetic.
Yeah.
Are we really saying no siblings automatically means you're bad at compromise later? It feels a bit like labeling.
And that is precisely the pushback he received. There was a commenter on the original article identified as AC who made exactly that point.
What did AC say?
That it's unfair. That character, upbringing, education, those matter much more than just whether you had a sibling or not. And AC also argued, quite rightly, that kids with siblings can learn terrible habits too. Rivalry, selfishness, constant fighting.
Yeah, they just learn to fight over the TV remote instead of maybe having a toy all to themselves.
Exactly. So it's not automatic.
So how did Kato respond to that? Because it's a really important point, the difference between observing a potential pattern and just slapping a negative label on a whole group.
He clarified his intention very carefully. He said he wasn't judging or using labeling in a definitive, condemning way. His focus, he stressed, is on fostering awareness, a conscious realization, a conscientizar, as he puts it, of potential predispositions, conditioning factors.
Conscientizar, deeper awareness.
Yes, and these factors are always complex, multifactorial. It's never just about having siblings or not.
So the point isn't only children are flawed. It's more like they might need to consciously develop certain negotiation or sharing skills that kids with siblings perhaps picked up more automatically through daily friction.
Precisely. That's the nuance. And then he added something quite insightful in response to the critique. He noted that sometimes a really strong emotional defensive reaction to hearing about a potential handicap can actually stem from feeling like a victim, feeling personally targeted.
Interesting.
And the fascinating part, AC, the commenter who pushed back so strongly, later confirmed they were, in fact, an only child, which seemed to illustrate Kato's point about the sensitivity.
Wow, okay. That's quite a feedback loop there.
But the universal takeaway, Kato emphasizes, is this. Everyone has these kinds of handicaps. We all have imperfections, ingrained programming from our past, our upbringing, our experiences.
Right. Nobody gets a perfect start.
Nobody. And recognizing those unconscious programs, those inherited tendencies, that's the absolute essential first step for any kind of growth or change. The awareness itself starts the healing.
And this ties into another point from the sources, that this potential only child factor, or really any difficulty with compromise, gets amplified if the way parents raise their kids was purely competitive.
Yes, this is a huge insight, and it applies way beyond just only children. If the parenting model constantly emphasizes being, number one, the winner, the best, the champion.
Like life is a zero-sum game.
Exactly. A competitive zero-sum worldview. Then the child learns rivalry, above all else, not collaboration or teamwork, and that deep programming, it can mess up adult relationships badly. They might unconsciously view their partner, or even their own children later on, as competitors within the family system, always jockeying for position, for resources, for control, for who's winning, instead of seeing them as teammates working towards a shared life, mutual peace.
So the relationship is almost set up to fail from the start, because the underlying program is about dominance, not negotiation.
Pretty much. It creates constant friction, which is why this shift towards healing through consciousness, through awareness, makes so much sense if you can't even see the program running in the background.
You're just doomed to repeat it. Endlessly.
And this is where Kato really bridges the psychological and the spiritual. He connects this difficulty with compromise, this relational suffering, back to deeper principles. He brings in the Buddha,
Okay.
the core teaching. The source of our suffering isn't usually the external event itself, but our ignorance about it, our lack of self-awareness, our nekonataintazat regarding our own internal programming and reactions.
And Carl Jung fits right in there too, doesn't it, with the idea of the unconscious.
The perfect psychological parallel. Jung said, basically, whatever remains unconscious, all that ignorance from the past we haven't dealt with, it doesn't just disappear, it comes back. Over and over.
As destiny.
As destiny. As recurring patterns. Negative karma, if you like.
So if you refuse to get aware, refuse to understand why you resist compromise, or why your past relationships failed, you just suffer the same way again.
You suffer repetitively. You attract the same situations, the same conflicts, maybe with different people, but the core dynamic repeats. To change that destiny, you have to gain those conscious realizations. The comunication, that awareness is the treatment.
Wow. Okay. That brings us right back to the paradox of being single then. That feeling of freedom. Kato uses an analogy for this, right? About how that freedom can curdle.
Yes, a really potent one. He asks you to imagine moving into a huge, beautiful house all by yourself.
Nice.
Initially, yeah. There's this rush of joy, of freedom, nobody telling you what to do, where to put things. It's all yours.
Sounds good so far.
But then, as you walk through those big, quiet rooms, day after day, alone, that initial joy starts to fade.
And the house starts to feel
Empty, echoing, vast.
He calls it being free in a desert. Pustu.
That's the phrase. Solitude definitely grants freedom. But if that freedom isn't used to actively nourish your soul, or isn't eventually shared, or doesn't lead towards growth for future connection, it can feel meaningless, Baron.
The emotional emptiness just remains hidden under the freedom.
Until the relational lesson, the compromise lesson, is finally learned.
Okay, so if the lesson isn't learned, the solitude is just a shield, covering up that emotional desert. So how do we make sure if we are in a period of solitude that it's actually fertile ground, that it's preparing us for something better, not just acting as a defensive bunker?
Well, Kato doesn't just diagnose, he offers tools. He gives 3 really practical introspective questions for you, the listener, to ask yourself right now. They're designed to help you figure out if it's active growth or just hiding.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
First, test the quality of your enjoyment. When you say, I'm enjoying my freedom, pause and ask, is this genuine active enjoyment? Or am I mainly just relieved to be hiding from the potential pain and difficulty of making compromises I don't want to make?
Oof, okay. Abundance or avoidance. Got it. What's the second question?
Second, probe the energy behind your happiness. Is it active and creative? Meaning, are you using this time to build something new, a skill, a project, deepening your inner life? Or is the happiness merely defensive, just a way to mask or numb an old wound from a past relationship?
Moving towards something positive or just running away from something negative?
Right.
And the third?
The third forces you to confront that potential emptiness, even when things are good. Ask yourself, how does this freedom really feel when you achieve something great, a victory, but have no one special to share it with? Or maybe even more profoundly, when you're hurting, when you need comfort, and there's no one there to share your tears. That hits home. Because real joy, and real healing too, often feels amplified or validated when it's witnessed, when it's shared. Absolute freedom can mean absolute isolation.
Exactly. That lack of sharing can diminish both the highs and the lows.
Okay, so after doing that pretty intense self-reflection, what are the tools? What does Kato suggest for actually shifting your consciousness?
He offers a couple of concrete things. First, a simple but powerful declaration. Something to write down, internalize, repeat.
What is it?
My solitude is not a curse, but a necessary lesson. I choose to learn from it and grow.
Okay, I like that. It reframes it, takes it out of victimhood, this happened to me, and into active choice. I'm using this time.
Precisely. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It makes the solitude strategic, developmental.
And what's the final exercise? You said it prepares you for a partnership.
Yes. This one requires honesty. Reflect on the last time you genuinely enjoyed being alone. First, identify the real, healthy pleasure in it. Maybe it was peace, creativity, focus, whatever.
Then be honest about the hidden void it might also have been covering. What lack, what fear, what past hurt was being masked by that solitude?
Digging deep again.
You have to. And then this is the crucial step forward. Consciously define what specific healthy compromise you would be willing to make right now, today, if the right person came along. What give and take are you ready for?
So it shifts you from just identifying the problem or the past refusal to actually preparing for a different future, from refusal to readiness.
Exactly. It primes the pump for partnership, psychologically.
So pulling it all together, the core message from Kato seems to be that this whole relationship journey, including periods of solitude, is fundamentally educational.
Yes, that's the perfect word. It's not about battling fate or bad luck. It's a path of necessary diagnosis, understanding your patterns, and then karmic healing or pattern correction through awareness.
And solitude in that light is just a teacher.
A potent teacher. If you engage with it, if you do the work, learn the lessons about your resistance, your programming, then solitude becomes fertile ground. It prepares you, makes you ready for a healthier, more conscious partnership later.
But if you resist, if you refuse to learn,
then the solitude just remains what it was, potentially a desert, a repetitive cycle you can't seem to break out of, an unending state of being free, but also empty.
that really sums it up. The value of your time alone hinges entirely on whether you use it for growth or just as a shield and escape from the necessary challenges of connection.
And before we wrap up, Kato leaves us with some homework, a meditation topic, really. It cuts right to the core of that fear around compromise.
Okay, what is that?
You need to learn to critically distinguish between two very different things. Making necessary compromises for a relationship is not the same thing as compromising yourself as a person.
Ooh, that's a powerful distinction. Making compromises versus being compromised.
Exactly. They feel similar, but they are worlds apart.
So the challenge for you, the listener, is to figure out your own personal boundary there. What is healthy sacrifice or flexibility for the sake of the U.S., the relationship system? And what, for you, crosses the line into betraying your core self, your non-negotiables?
Finding that line is crucial for healthy relating.
Definitely something to chew on. Now, if this kind of deep dive, focusing on self-awareness, consciousness, getting to the root causes of suffering, especially in relationships, if this resonates with you.
And you feel ready and committed to continuing this kind of work, not just understanding the problem, but actively working towards transformation.
Then we'd strongly recommend looking further into the author we've been discussing.
For those who really want to move beyond just treating symptoms and are ready to resolve the underlying causes through dedicated consciousness work, you should check out Kato's Level 2 membership program on Patreon.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, it's specifically designed for people who are serious about this path. It builds directly on the kind of principles we've talked about today, gaining essential awarenesses, understanding your programming, and actively engaging in personal and spiritual development to change those patterns.
So it's for people ready to take the next step after diagnosis.
Exactly. Moving from understanding into active, ongoing transformation. It's the next level of the journey.
Great. Well, something to explore if this deep dive sparks something for you.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep. Keep asking those questions about what truly motivates you.